Hello, basketball people, we have news. Let's go to more news about the Golden State Warriors. I ask you to give a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel, as I am a Warriors fan. The Warriors have had a drop in production this season and are now at a 6-6 record. They will play against the San Antonio Spurs and try to recover from the embarrassing defeat to the Oklahoma City Thunder. And once again, player Jonathan Kuminga is having conflicts with the Warriors. Veteran Draymond Green has been critical of the young players, and Kuminga has had a drop in performance and is already emerging as a name to be traded in 2026. Last season, the Los Angeles Lakers showed interest in Kuminga. Would this be the ideal landing spot for the player? This conflict between veterans and young players has only led the Warriors to discouragement and a drop in production. We have an idea who Dre was referring to with his pointed remarks. Draymond Green didn't hold back in his post-game media session following the Golden State Warriors' blowout loss to the Oklahoma City Thunder on Tuesday. When asked what's the biggest difference between how the Warriors were playing down this stretch last season and how they've started this season, Green said, "I think everybody was committed to winning and doing that any way possible. Right now, it doesn't feel that way." Green continued, "I think everyone has a personal agenda in this league. But you have to make the personal agenda work in the team confines. If it doesn't work, you kinda got to get rid of your agenda. Or, eventually the agenda is the cause of someone getting moved." We can't know for sure who this quote is about, but ESPN's Anthony Slater gave us a hint with this passage. When the term agenda enters the mix, the attention tends to shift toward two of the Warriors' youngest core members who have been outspoken about their desire for more third-year guard Brandon Podziemski and fifth-year forward Jonathan Kuminga. Kuminga got off to a brilliant start to the season, but he had a brutal two-game stretch entering Tuesday. He played better against Oklahoma City, but he still had 5 turnovers and struggled on the defensive end. Podziemski didn't stand out in a positive or negative way against the Thunder. In his post-game media session, Jimmy Butler also called out the team's lack of fight, especially on the defensive end. Kuminga has been guilty of losing defensive focus throughout his career, though, to be clear, the Warriors' current slump has as much to do with the veterans as anyone else. Green and Stephen Curry had miserable performances Tuesday and haven't played consistently well since the first week of the year. But the Warriors' front office is very unlikely to blow up the Green, Curry and Butler veteran trio, which once again leaves Kuminga as the likely odd man out. Kuminga signed a 2-year, $46.8 million contract with a team option for the second season. He's not eligible to be traded until January 15th. Pods is making just $3.7 million this season and $5.7 million next season. His salary on its own isn't big enough to facilitate the type of trade the Warriors will be looking for. In the meantime, Golden State will have to deal with the ramifications of this quote for at least the next 2 months. A trade feels as inevitable as ever. This kind of quote doesn't come out for teams that are planning on standing pat at the trade deadline. At 6-6, the Warriors are not yet in any major trouble in the standings. But if they don't stop the bleeding on this 6-game road trip, that could change quickly. Draymond Green, Jimmy Butler send message to teammates after blowout loss. The Golden State Warriors left Oklahoma City with an ugly 126-102 loss. They trailed by as many as 36 points, and they've fallen to 6-6 for the season after dropping 6 of their last 10 games. Granted, Stephen Curry missed 3 games with an illness before returning, but it wasn't a lack of offense that hurt the Warriors. Following the loss, Draymond Green seemed to take a big shot at some of his teammates for their lack of commitment. Did Draymond Green and Jimmy Butler throw shade at Jonathan Kuminga? I think everybody was committed to winning and doing that any way possible. Right now, it doesn't feel that way, Green said, per Anthony Slater. While he didn't address any teammate by name, his later comments made the fans speculate that he was taking a jab at Jonathan Kuminga. I think everyone has a personal agenda in this league. But you have to make the personal agenda work in the team confines. If it doesn't work, you kinda got to get rid of your agenda. Or, eventually the agenda is the cause of someone getting moved, he continued. Notably, Jimmy Butler echoed a similar sentiment when he addressed the media. "Everybody has to be honest with themselves," Butler said. "Players need to sacrifice for the greater good of the team and show more fight." Kuminga's feud with the Warriors was well documented. He openly wanted to be traded, but due to the lack of offers, he ultimately had to sign a 2-year, $48.6 million deal to return to the Bay Area. He's been vocal about his discontent with his role in the offense, and his effort on the defensive end hasn't always been there this season. The Warriors can't trade him until January 15, and it's still way too early in the year to sound the alarms. But given his history with the organization and Green and Butler's characters, this might get ugly pretty soon. Is Stephen Curry playing versus Spurs? Warriors star sounds off after ugly Thunder loss. Stephen Curry shared his thoughts about the Thunder loss, but also answered if he plans on playing against the Spurs. The Golden State Warriors took a 126-102 loss to the Oklahoma City Thunder, which makes it their 6th consecutive road loss. Stephen Curry returned to the lineup after missing the last 3 with an illness and finished with 11 points, shooting 4 of 13 from the field. Things don't get any easier for the Warriors as they play the San Antonio Spurs on a back-to-back, but the question everyone wants answered is whether Curry will be playing. "I'm trying to, yes," Curry said via ESPN's Anthony Slater. That's good news for the Warriors, as they're going to need all hands on deck to get out of this current slump that they're in. After their loss against the Thunder, Curry spoke about the state of the team and what they need to do to improve. "The vibes are high, we're not winning, and we can point at certain things we can do in the game to either sacrifice for a teammate," Curry said. "When things get a little rocky, like they did tonight, try to go outside of just looking at the stat sheet. We need to find winning plays that will help. The big issue is that when you lose, you look around and try to find the issue. Commitment to winning is running the floor, rebounding, taking care of the basketball. It's not really about shots going in or not. And we haven't done that consistently enough, and our record shows that." The Warriors have had some rough losses this season, but they've also had some good wins. The key for them is consistency and figuring out the roles on the team. They have the right amount of veteran leadership on the team, and it would not be a surprise if they figured things out sooner rather than later. Also, with Curry back, that should make things easier. Warriors delivered painful dose of reality that could be impossible to rectify. They already look tired. The Golden State Warriors are leaning heavily on veteran experience, leadership and IQ, but sometimes that can only take you so far, which was painfully evident on Tuesday night against the Oklahoma City Thunder. They looked old and slow. That's the painful reality that was on display against the reigning champions, with the Warriors unable to penetrate the league's best defense while equally struggling with the Thunder's length and athleticism on the other end of the floor. Warriors veterans were exposed against the Thunder on Tuesday. The much-celebrated veteran core of Stephen Curry, Jimmy Butler, and Draymond Green had little to no impact at Paycom Center, combining for just 29 points on 20 shots in the 126-102 defeat to the hosts. Curry looked rusty in his return from a 3-game absence due to illness, shooting just 4 of 13 from the floor for 11 points while also picking up 5 fouls on the other end in less than 20 minutes. While it would be stupid to write Curry off, his poor shooting in the games even before his illness is of rising concern as Golden State moved to 6-6 on the season. Green's defense over the past 7 games has also taken a dive, with head coach Steve Kerr confirming before the game that the veteran forward is banged up and could miss Wednesday's second night of a back-to-back against the San Antonio Spurs. The Warriors have ranked 11th on defense over the past 7 games, and now sit 9th on the season. While that doesn't sound too bad, it's a significant fall given they were first on that end of the floor after last season's All-Star break, with Green playing a significant role as he surged up to finish 3rd in Defensive Player of the Year. Within the past week, Curry has missed 3 games, Butler missed brief time due to lower back soreness, and now Green is banged up despite resting from last Wednesday's loss to the Sacramento Kings. Perhaps there's elements of misfortune here, but it might also be what happens for older aging teams who have so many miles on their legs. Combine that with Al Horford not playing both sides of back-to-backs, and the Warriors are already struggling to find rhythm just 12 games into the season. Golden State's young players are solid rotation members, but they're evidently not good enough to take over when the veterans are seemingly exhausted. The likes of Curry, Butler, and Green may still be good enough to produce their best on occasion, but whether they can do it regularly over an arduous 82-game season is now a real concern that may be impossible to rectify. Steve Kerr remains confident in Golden State Warriors' chances of success. The Golden State Warriors got back to winning ways on Sunday night, overcoming the Indiana Pacers 114-83. Steve Kerr's team has struggled in recent games, as a grueling schedule caught up with them and the absence of Stephen Curry weighed heavily. During his post-game news conference, Kerr praised his team's win before noting that it's just one more step toward developing an identity this year. The veteran head coach reaffirmed his confidence in the roster, despite the recent struggles. "Overall, we haven't played real well," Kerr said. "But I'm very confident in this team. It's going to be a tough trip. As you mentioned, 2 back-to-backs. We felt like getting through this part of the schedule in one piece. It sets up the season well for us. I can picture the team, I can see what kind of team we're gonna be. But we don't really have our identity yet." Golden State enjoyed a strong start to the 2025-26 season. They clearly have the necessary talent to emerge as a contending-level team. Therefore, the more wins they can stack now, while it's earlier in the season, the better it will be for the roster and the ability to generate momentum later in the year. Kerr's welcomed multiple new faces into the rotation ahead of training camp. As such, it will take some time for everyone to get up to speed and begin making an impact in their role. Nevertheless, his confidence is likely well placed, assuming the growth we're all expecting starts to materialize in the near future. Warriors trade former All-Star guard. Golden State gave up Victor Oladipo's G League rights in exchange for a 2027 first-round G League pick. Victor Oladipo is back in the NBA. Sort of. Oladipo, who made 2 All-Star teams as a member of the Indiana Pacers, agreed to join the Wisconsin Herd, the G League affiliate of the Milwaukee Bucks. The Santa Cruz Warriors had the waiver priority to select Oladipo, but traded his rights to the Herd in exchange for a first-round pick in the 2027 G League draft. That's not totally worthless. This year's G League draft saw Dillon Jones and Tyler Smith go at number 1 and number 2. Both were relatively high picks in the 2024 NBA draft, with Jones going at number 26 and Smith selected at number 33. The rest of the first round mainly featured vaguely familiar names like Jamal Mashburn, Jr., melodious names like Cario Oquendo and Ebenezer Dowona, and Wizarding World of Harry Potter names like A.J. Hogood. It's likely that Oladipo made an arrangement with the Bucks organization to continue his quest to return to the NBA, where he hasn't played since he ruptured his patella tendon in the first round of the 2023 playoffs. At the time, Oladipo had fought his way back from a devastating January 2019 injury where he ruptured his quad tendon, just weeks before he was going to play in his second All-Star game. Oladipo had become a rotation player for a Miami Heat team that, led by Jimmy Butler, would make a Cinderella run to the NBA Finals. In his second playoff game, Oladipo went up for a dunk and suffered a no-contact injury to his knee, ending his season and sending him back to the operating room and months more rehabilitation. The Bucks seem willing to see what Oladipo has left in the low-pressure environment of the G League. On a team that lacks firepower around Giannis Antetokounmpo, having a player like Oladipo available off the bench could be valuable, if his body can hold up. He played against NBA teams during the preseason as part of the Guangzhou Long Lions and showed flashes of his old All-Star self. Fun fact: Chinese fans reportedly refer to Oladipo as the diligent Mamba. The Warriors seem to have decided that they have enough 2018 All-Stars on the wrong side of 30 on the roster already, so they let Oladipo chase his destiny in America's Dairyland. Besides, when you can acquire a draft pick that could become the next Omar Stanley or Jay-Z Zaher, you've got to pull the trigger. It is time for Warriors fans to have an uncomfortable Buddy Hield discussion. With some young Warriors emerging, is Hield's rotation spot slipping? When Buddy Hield is hitting three-pointers, there's a sense of serenity in Warriors land. It makes everything easier, the floor can be spaced better, he takes some pressure off Steph Curry, and he can hit a barrage of three-pointers at a moment's notice. When Buddy Hield isn't hitting three-pointers, the argument for playing him big minutes becomes a little less clear-cut. When he's not hitting three-pointers and other role players on the Warriors are producing more consistently, then Hield's place in the rotation in general becomes precarious, and that's the situation we find ourselves in right now. On the season, Hield is shooting just 32% from three-point range and has a VORP of -0.1, meaning he grades out as worse than a replacement-level player. Meanwhile, rookie Will Richard and emerging scorer Moses Moody have both impressed in their minutes, leading Warriors fans to call for those two to take over Hield's minutes, which have been rough more than they've been good this year. Hield's minutes are already down this year, he's averaging 17.9 minutes per game, while Richard is right behind him at 17.2 and Moody is up to a career-high 22.9. With each day that Moody improves and Richard continues to impress, Hield's share of the second-unit backcourt minutes might slip away. Is Buddy Hield in danger of losing his roster spot? Probably not entirely. With how solid he was last year, it's hard to imagine Hield completely falling out of the lineup. But Moody has been shooting the ball much better than Hield, and Richard contributes a lot more than just scoring. His hustle and instincts are what have made him valuable, although the 40% three-point clip doesn't hurt, either. On a Warriors team that's still figuring out exactly what its rotation will be this year, I am not suggesting that Hield gets banished to the bench permanently. But turning into a 10-ish minute per game guy while he shoots himself out of a slump would be beneficial for him and the team, plus, it would instill more confidence in two young Warriors who have come on strong in 2025 in Richard and Moody. Every shooter in NBA history has slumped. I am confident that Hield, who's made over 2,100 three-pointers in his NBA career, will bust out of this sooner than later. But in the meantime, it's worth toning down the Buddy minutes and getting some more run for a few other Warriors who are doing more to help the team nightly.